again, what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be building an AI agent. This is going to be for a medical practice. Let me pull up.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Perfect. So again, we're going to be building a single prompt agent that is going to be for medical practice, and I will also be sharing this prompt. So let me actually put this in the chat right now. This is going to be a Notion document. It's going to have all the resources that we go over today. And as we build this out, also I'll also be posting like the functions and stuff like that. That way it's just easier for us to go. And let me paste that in the chat now. Please let me know if you guys can't access this for some reason. You should be able to, but just give me a second here. Now, do you guys all have GHL and N8N? That's the stack that we're going to be using today. Yes, no?
Yeah, all good, Alex. We can open it.
All right, cool. Perfect. So on there's going to be the prompt. So what we're going to do now is we're first going to start setting up our GHL. And what we're going to be doing in GHL, we're going to be creating a private key. This private key is going to allow us to communicate the system from Retell over to GHL. And so make sure that you go to your GHL account. And once you're there, you can see I have this just dummy sub account. I don't really have much in here other than maybe, sorry, this is going on here. Okay, kind of on. I don't really have much on here other than a couple of calendars and some contacts. So I'll show you them. So it's just a very new account, nothing much going on here. This is just literally me. So we're gonna go down to settings. By the way, have you guys created a private key before? No?
Yes, I have.
Okay, cool. So we're gonna go to private integrations here. And I have a couple of keys, but I'm actually gonna delete these and then we're gonna start from the very beginning. And we're gonna go ahead and create a new private key. So I'm just gonna click on create new integration. And here we're just gonna name this, give this a private key name. I'm gonna use Retell because that's what I'm gonna be using those. Yeah, they're private keys. It's basically just like an API key that's gonna allow us to communicate directly with GHL. And we're gonna be using this to check the availability of our calendar, to search a contact, to create a new contact, and ultimately book the appointment. Hopefully that answers your question there. So we're gonna click next. And then for scopes, you can literally select everything. This is all this means is like, what do you want the automation to have access to? So we definitely need calendars. Anything to do with calendars we're gonna need. So I'm gonna go ahead and select all of these. And if you're ever in doubt, you can just literally select everything. I don't really need calendar resources, but just for the sake of this, I can select it. We definitely need contacts, right? So we wanna be able to search the contacts. We wanna be able to edit the contacts. So later on, you might wanna edit a custom field or anything like that. I'm not gonna check the rest of it because I don't really need it for now, but you could if you wanted to. The main things that we need are going to be calendars. We're gonna need contacts. I'm gonna put the locations here, view locations, custom values. Maybe I'll need this, definitely custom fields. So I'm gonna select that. Maybe we wanna do some tags later on. You can always edit this. So even if you create this now, you can always come back to it and edit it. And it is being recorded. So the call is being recorded. So yeah, and I'm recording it in Loom. So that's probably why you don't see the red there. So the rest of this, again, you guys can select this if you like. None of this stuff is really relevant to what we're doing right now, like shipping and social media. None of this is really useful for us. So I'm just gonna click create. And this is going to give me my key. So make sure that you save this somewhere safe. I'm just gonna open up a notepad here, and I'm gonna save it on here for now. But just make sure that you save it somewhere safe. Obviously, don't share this with anyone. It doesn't matter that you see mine, but just make sure you save it. Once you exit out of this, you're not going to be able to access it anymore. So once I click this, you can see that I can no longer see my key here. But in the future, if you ever needed it again, you can always reset it. So you can always click rotate and expire and just click continue. And then you'll see it gives you a new key now. So that's just in case you ever lose it, you forget it, where you store it, you can always just reset it. Perfect. So are we good so far? Did everyone create their API key there?
Yep.
Yeah, cool. Perfect. So next, we're going to go to Retell, and we're going to click Create an Agent. And here, we're just going to do a single prompt agent, but basically what I'm showing you will still apply to the other ones, like the multi-prompt, especially like the function calling. That will still work, but just for the simplicity of things, we're going to do a single prompt agent. I'm just going to give this a demo. And I'm going to go back to that Notion document that I shared with you guys. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy that prompt and I'm going to paste it in here. We'll kind of quickly go through it. Again, the prompt is not super crucial. But again, you can see that this is, well, this was actually for a hair salon. So I'm going to change this. So I'm going to do this for a medical practice. It's going to be a podiatry. I'm going to leave the name like that. And you know what? That's all right. We'll go with the hair salon. It's okay. That can be anything, so it doesn't really matter. So I'm just gonna go with the hair salon here. We just have some very generic and basic stuff here, like as the personality, communication style, goal. You can always go ahead and change this. Obviously, I have this no yapping here, so she doesn't talk a whole lot. Now, here we're gonna be setting up right now. We're gonna be setting our inbound webhook, and we're going to be getting the current time. Here you can see that I have the current time, but what happens with Retell is it's going to send you the time in Pacific Standard. So I'm going to pretend that this, can I copy that part of the prompt? Yeah, I can copy it. And again, that's also in the Notion document, but I'll paste it on here as well. Just give me a second. Okay, so there's the yapping part there. Let me answer a couple of questions really quick here. Is it possible to use the API key on the 97 plan? Yes, absolutely. You can use it on any plan. The only difference is that when you're on the 497, you have access to the agency level, so you can edit locations, but it does work on the 97 plan. Everything that I'm showing you now will work on the 97 plan. So, okay, perfect. So I'm gonna go ahead and save this. And we'll quickly go through this. We just have a schedule rules when we want to book the appointments. This can be anything for you. Now we're actually going to be switching this current time. This current time, it always populates in Pacific Standard Time. But for this example, I'm going to pretend that this client is going to be in New York. So I'm going to show you how we're going to get, how we can convert this time to any time zone that you're in, okay? The rest of the prompt is pretty basic. We're going to greet the user, identify what it is that they want. We'll then go ahead and ask a couple the Notion document, so let me get that URL here real quick, and I'll paste that in the chat. There you are. Okay, so you can just go ahead and copy the prompt from there and then paste it. So all we're doing here is we're gonna, once we find the user's preferred end time, we're gonna create a function that's availability. This is where we're gonna be using N8N. We'll get the times from them. We'll see if that time is available. If it's not, we'll recommend other times. We'll then confirm that time and eventually just book that appointment there. And of course, we'll answer any questions there. For here, I'm going to select just a defined message. So I'm just going to put, you know, I'm going to put something like that. Okay, cool. For the models, I'm just gonna leave that as default. I actually don't like this voice, so I'm just gonna select one that I do like, which I typically go with. I think it's Julia. No, it's not. So I'm select a pleasant voice, and it's definitely not her. You know what? We won't worry about it too much. I'm just gonna select Susan here for the sake of this. Everything else, we'll leave this as is right now. But we're gonna go ahead and set up our inbound webhook. So if you guys are not familiar with the inbound webhook, all this does is it's going to allow us to set like the custom variables or get information from the user. So we're going to be setting up this inbound webhook. We're going to be doing that in N8N. Now, before I move on, does anyone have any questions on, do we need to add a phone number before? You don't need to add a hashtag every task. This is just in Markdown. I know a lot of people use different ways to format their prompts. This is just Markdown. You don't have to add like the hash. If you wanted to, you could. I don't find the need for it, so I just number them. Hopefully that answers your question, Victor. Before I move on from the prompt, does anyone have any questions, any concerns? Is anything not clear?
Quick question, Alex. So the way that you're using the current time, I know you're going to convert it. I'm just wondering how accurate is this method?
The current time, I'm going to show you. We're actually going to set this up, and it's going to be reflective on the server.
Okay.
I'm going to show you. We're going to get this time. And again, this current time, this is a default variable by Retell AI. If we go to the documentation, we can see that we have dynamic variables, and this one is just the default. So you can always use this. You don't have to set up an inbound webhook to use this, but as you can see, this is always going to give it to you in Pacific Standard Time. So if you're in New York or you're in another part of the world, then you need to convert it into something else. So that's part of the reason that we're going to use N8N. And also, I might want other information besides just this, right? Like maybe I want the user's phone number, because that way it's easier. It's easier for us to say, hey, is your number 310-556 versus asking them for it. So hopefully that makes sense there. Any other questions before I move on from here? We're going to set up the webhook in N8N, but just want to make sure. Can you clarify the updating contacts on scopes for 97 plan? Can you unmute yourself, Buster? I'm not sure what you mean by that. I assume that you're talking about the private integrations here.
Yeah, this is Jerry with GHL AI. Under private integrations, I'm not seeing that contact scope for the $97 plan. Is it possible to update contacts at that plan
Edit
level?
contact. You're looking at edit contacts.
Yes.
Do you see that in the scopes?
I don't see it in the scopes for the $97 plan.
Buster, I saw the same thing, and I was looking in my agency view. I wasn't in a sub account, so I don't know if you're in a sub account. So I was looking in my agency account, and I couldn't see it either.
Yeah, I'm trying to update, a sub agent, obviously, because it's a client. So it's a big problem, not contacts for.
That doesn't seem right. We do have contacts. Literally, the only thing between the advanced API is the create location and anything to do with agencies. You should have contacts. Absolutely, you should have contacts. And actually, now that I remember, if I go to integrations, and you guys can, I'm going to paste this here in the chat. This will also be in the Notion document once I update it. But if we take a look at documentation and we go to scopes, here you can see all the different scopes and the access type. Anytime you see sub account, that's 97, the 97 plan. So for contacts, we should definitely be able to see contacts for you, because here's contacts and it's at the sub account level. The only thing that you get at the 497 level is this agency, when you see these agency scopes.
I think I know what happened. I just recently joined, and apparently in the trial, they don't expose contacts, but once you actually become a paying subscriber, they do expose it. So I see it now. Sorry about that.
Okay, no worries, but that's good info there, because I didn't know that trial that they limited. So that's
I didn't realize that either until just now. So thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions, concerns before we move on, guys?
Yeah, really quick, Alex. So I'm new to both Retell and GHL. Is there a good reason to go with GHL instead of like Make.com? As far as I can tell, they're both like automation platforms, but Make has like a pay-as-you-go kind of a thing. So just wondering about.
So GHL is different. I think we're going to be using N8N, sorry, to create our workflows and to bridge the connection between GHL and Retell. You could use Make. I'm using N8N, and the reason that we're using N8N is because you can self-host it. So N8N, you can purchase the cloud. You can go to the, buy here. It's like the easiest way to get started, or you can set it up in your server. And to Carlos's point, absolutely, make.com is not HIPAA compliant. I work with a lot of doctors. That's literally most of our clients. So make not HIPAA compliant. And even if you get N8N through the starter, I also don't believe that's HIPAA compliant. So that's where you download it and you can install it in your own server. So for example, I have mine installed in DigitalOcean. DigitalOcean is HIPAA compliant. They will sign a BAA agreement. And so that's kind of the difference there, why we would use something like Make versus N8N. I mean, N8N versus Make. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so I can see how N8N plus DigitalOcean will make HIPAA compliant versus like Make, but then where does DHL come into play? Like, is it like more middleware for something that N8N doesn't support, or?
GHL is just your CRM. So here we're using GHL because a lot of people.
CRM. Okay.
It's just a CRM though. That's all it is. So in the real practice though, like when you do work with a doctor, you're going to connect directly to their system. That can be like Dr. Chrono, Dentrix, whatever that may be. If you're on the home service, you're going to be connecting to Service Titan. So yeah, that's why.
Alex, I have a question.
What's up?
I connected my Retell with my GHL back in December, and I see Retell had some like V2 in February, right?
V2 in terms of like
in terms of application, like it was V1 if I remember correctly in December. Is there a reason for me to break my current connection between GHL and Retell and reinstall it? Because I created an agent last night in Retell, tested it, and none of the call analysis data went through to GHL, and I don't know what's the issue.
And
so I was thinking maybe it's because of the new version of Retell.
But when you say connection, did you connect it through the app marketplace or through like Make?
Marketplace, yeah.
So let me see. I'm not sure if Evie's still on the line. Maybe she will have some more insight on that, on the app marketplace app. I don't particularly use the app marketplace because there's some issues with the booking the appointments. It's not fully there. So I would just go with private integrations. To me, it's more secure.
How do I do it?
I just showed you. I'm not sure when you join.
Private integrations. Yeah. So a first step, I should break my connection that I have at the moment, right?
Yeah, you can delete that and just simply create a private integration.
And then I'm gonna work differently, because I saw some people in YouTube, like have direct actions within GoHighLevel, like create an outbound call, and I don't have it within my GHL. So is this the reason why?
So yeah, you can probably update the app. The app does allow you to do that, but again, I personally just use N8N, so in a private integration.
So you would use private integration plus N8N to create outbound calls from GHL to Retell, or? You
could, for outbound agents, which we can do another training next week on that. You could just do it directly from GHL. So
yeah,
I will create. And
you would use private integration for it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Debbie, is it possible to use directly with Retell? So you could do it. For example, like for outbound calls, you could just simply, it's very easy for you to create an outbound call. I still find that I will still use N8N. Sometimes you need to pull information from other places. Sometimes you need to do some complex things. It depends on your workflow, honestly. Like if you're pulling data from a bunch of different places and you need to wait to get that data, GHL might not be the best for that. It really depends on your use case there. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, cool. So as soon as there's no other questions, we're going to go ahead on and move on to creating our inbound webhook. So you want to make sure you go ahead and log in to your N8N instance. You can see that I have a very simple workflow here. There's literally nothing on it. Oops, that's not it. So I'm going to create a new workflow. And we can go ahead and give this a name. And for the trigger, we're going to create an inbound webhook here. So when we click on that, we can see that on webhook call. And here it's going to give us a couple of things, a test URL and a production URL. The first time that we work with this, we always want to use the test URL, and you guys are going to see why. So I'm just going to click on this. I'm going to go back to retail, and then I'm going to paste that in here. And then I'm going to save it. Now I'm going to go back to my webhook here, and we can actually test this. So I want to send back retail some information, but before I send that information, I want to see the data that it's going to send me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here, and I'm actually going to assign this a phone number. Obviously, if I don't assign this a phone number, there's not going to be any information for me to send this to. So let me do that now. Forgot what.
Hey Alex, can I ask you about some VoIP problem I'm issuing right now?
With what we're doing?
Actually, I got my workflow ready and set up. It's working with GHL, but I'm facing several issues when I'm talking about voicemail. So every time I put a new phone or I try any new phones, the identification of this voicemails don't get reached like several times. Like if I send 10 calls and 5 of them are in voicemail, majorly they don't work as pretended. Like 3 or 4 will continue the call. The agent will try to talk with the people, but actually is in the voicemail.
Okay. We can definitely talk that after, just because we need to move along the workshop. But regarding the voice detection, do you have this turned on? The voice detection setting here for your calls?
Yes. I tried some prompt engineering tips about this. Try to get some to put the agent to understand when he's talking to a voicemail, but didn't work very well too. But
Also,
okay, we can talk about it later. I think we're gonna take a long time to talk about it.
Yeah, that would be a different topic. So I'll definitely I'm taking notes on this. I will definitely have to get back to you on that, JT.
Hey, GTK, just to interrupt here quickly, and so we can get the workshop back on track.
Okay.
I'm Reese from the integration team, mainly do enterprise, but I just put my email address in the chat, so you can pop me an email. It feels like that's kind of a platform issue more than anything to do with GHL, probably. So.
Yeah, I see you send me some Discord messages, Reese. I'll hang up you. I'll hang it to you later. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Perfect. Glad you're here, Reese. Thank you for hopping on here.
Yep, no problem.
So all I'm going to do here, guys, is we need to initiate this webhook, right? So I added a phone number to my agent. You guys can see that I have my webhook here. And if I go back to retail, I need to listen, back to retail, to N8N, I need to listen for information. So you need to click on this before you call your agent, okay? So I'm going to call it now. I'm going to click on this test event. I'm going to call here.
Thank you for calling Aria. This is Sarah. How may I help you?
Hey, Sarah. Let me see here. Something went wrong here because I still didn't get my information. So, yes, thank you. You got it, yeah. Here I have a GET request. It's actually a POST request. So you guys can see I still make mistakes. We need to change this to a POST request here instead of a GET request. And now I can test listen here. And I'm going to go ahead and call. Perfect. That's all I got to do. Like, you don't have to talk to it. But as soon as I call, you can see that I got this information. And I'm going to click on this little pin. What this is going to do is this is going to pin the data so that I can work with this. Now, the reason that we want this is because we want the phone number that the user is calling from. So maybe you just want to save this to your CRM. Sometimes you just want to look them up, right? Like they might be an existing patient or they might be an existing customer. So then you can do stuff with that information versus, not do anything with it. So we're going to get the phone number, and also we're going to change this response to respond when the last node finishes. The reason that we're doing this is because we're going to send back some dynamic variables that we can then use in our prompt. Hopefully that makes sense. Any questions on this before I move on? No? Okay. Perfect. So we have our user's phone number. Now I want to get the time, and I forgot who I was talking to earlier. We were talking about the current time, right? So this is a dynamic variable that's coming by default from retail, but we want to create our own variables with our own time. So that's what we're going to be doing here. And all we got to do is click on this little plus, and I'm going to search date. And I'm going to type the date here, and I'm going to get the current date here. And you can see what this is going to do is, well, technically I can also use now. If I test this step, it's going to give me the current date and time. Now, this time is reflective based on the server settings that I have in N8N. So if I go to settings and you click here, you can check yourself, you might have a different time zone. So I'm in LA, but again, for this simulation, I want to return the time back in New York. So what I want to do is I want to click on options, and then I want to put time zone. So here in my time zone, and literally I can just use that example there. I can just put America, New York. And I just got to do is type it, New York. And now when I do the test step, you can see it gives me the time in New York, right? It should be 5 p.m. in New York right now. Yeah, it is. Cool. So you can do this for your own time zone there. Whatever it is, you can just enter the time zone and it will give you that time. And we're going to be sending this back to Retell. So hopefully that makes sense. Any questions on that? No?
Yeah, Alex, isn't it possible in the current time in Retell just to say, hey, subtract 3 for East Coast time, 3 hours?
You could. You absolutely could. I like to like be precise and like just give it my the time. But you could do that. Also, the reason that we're doing this is because ideally anytime you start a conversation, you should pass some sort of dynamic variables to personalize the conversation. So in this case, I want to get the phone number. So since I'm already getting the phone number, well, it's easy for me just to also send the current time that I want. But you absolutely could, John. So,
hey,
cool.
Alex, on the webhook, I noticed that that you specified on the webhook listen side versus the other one. To do an update, to like update to GoHighLevel, is that accurate?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you meant.
Well, so like in Retell AI, under webhook settings, there's a an inbound webhook URL, and I noticed you pasted the N8N you know endpoint there versus the agent level webhook URL. And for updating to GoHighLevel, is it accurate to post it in the inbound call or on the agent level?
It's fine at the inbound. All the inbound is doing, guys, we're just setting our environment. We just want to collect information from the user. This right now, you could communicate from GHL like right now if we wanted to, like, so for example, and that'll be a little more advanced, but maybe as part of like the user's name and date and time, maybe you also just want to send like the 2 times that you have available, like the next 2 available times for an appointment. You can also send that as a dynamic variable, but you don't have to. So it will still work as an inbound. We're also going to be using them in functions, but it'll be fine if you put it in inbound here. We actually need to put it in inbound because we want to get the user's phone number. Hopefully that makes sense there.
Okay.
Yeah, did that answer your question, or did I? Was that?
I think so. I if you put it in the agent level webhook URL below that, will it update to the CRM?
No, because this is different, right? So this webhook, it's going to do send events. So call started, call ended, call analysis. So you can do stuff with that if you want to, like, but that's something else.
Yeah. So like I thought the purpose of the GoHighLevel integration was a caller speaks to an AI agent and gives them, like for a real estate assistant, gives them their name, their phone number, et cetera. And we want all that data to go to GoHighLevel. Wouldn't you want to put it in the bottom webhook section versus the inbound call webhook?
Oh, are you asking like using
I get what you're saying.
all of that?
No.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, and the answer is no, because we're going to be doing that through a function, which is going to be here, right? So the user's going to call us, and we want to check the availability and then we want to book the appointment. But as part of booking that appointment, we might need information from them, right? That might be their name, their email address, whatever it is that you need. At that point, we're going to call this book appointment function, and that's going to send the information over to GHL. So our functions, which we're going to be creating, are going to be sending the information to GHL, to whatever system that you need that to go to.
So
yeah.
Okay.
The agent level, like again, this one, it will be great for maybe you do need a call analysis, right? So after the call ended, how did the call go? Was the patient happy? Were they angry? Whatever. You know, then you can use this for. And maybe Reese has other inputs on this, but you know, and you can see it actually gives you all the analytics, all the stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So like if you're gonna do something that it doesn't matter that it's real time, like if you could book an appointment without having to possibly have feedback from the user, then absolutely you can use the post call and then just grab those variables from the call analyze webhook. But his approach here is better generally for doing things like scheduling, because then you have that info in real time, right? So for example, say even if there was an error in GHL in booking an appointment, that because you're doing it in real time with a function call, then the LLM can be made aware of that.
Can you post it or paste that in both webhook areas?
No, so like the inbound, Alex, can you just pop that up back up quickly to the agent? Just the two. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. So the inbound call webhook URL is fired at the very start of a call. So all that you're getting there is just a JSON object with the from number, to number, and the agent ID. Then you can reply back with key value pairs that will be whatever variables you want the LLM to have in its context. So like you could look up from that phone number, somebody's name, for example, and send back the first name, last name. The agent level webhook URL is totally different. That's for events, like when the call starts, when the call ends, and when the call analysis is done. So if you, for example, if you were to reply back to that URL, nothing would happen. Like that data doesn't go anywhere. Does that help?
I think so.
Okay.
Thank you.
And we're going to go through this, like booking the appointments and sending the information through GHL. So you will see this. We're going to be doing that. Okay. So just to recap here, we got the information, we got the user's phone number, we prepared the date and time, right? So we got the current date and time for New York. We're going to send this back to Retell here. So now we need to send this information back to Retell, and we're going to do this with the code node. So all you're going to do is type code here, and we just need to return the information. So it's going to be super, super simple. All you got to do is type return, which all of these will also be in the Notion document. We're going to type return, and here we can go ahead and type the dynamic variables that we want to use, right? So one of those variables could be the user phone. Okay? So we got the phone number from the inbound webhook, so that might be one thing that we want to get. And we're going to load that up by, we added the variable, so this is what we're going to be referencing in Retell, which you're going to see right now. And now we need to give this the value. So if I click on input, I'm going to click on the webhook, and here we have the from number, right? So all you got to do is, you can see that there's like a little hand that pops up there. Just drag it, just grab it and drag it between these two things. I forget what these things are called. And you can see that it pops that in there. Next, we also want to send the time. Now, the dynamic variable, the default variable is called current time. So I don't want to have any conflicts with that. So I'm just going to call this like right now. And you can name this whatever it is that you like. It doesn't have to be called right now, but I'm naming this so that I don't put current time, because otherwise it's going to conflict with the dynamic variable, with the default dynamic variable, okay? And then here, I'm also going to put the parentheses, or whatever those things are called. And I want to get the date and time, which we stored here. So all I'm going to do is just drag that in here. Is everyone good so far? And again, the reason that we're doing this is we're just creating dynamic variables. You will be able to use these. So in my prompt, instead of current time, right, I named this right now. This is going to give me the time right now for New York. Maybe I want to repeat the user's phone number, right? So, and we can try that. We can say, hey, thank you, this is calling. How may I help you? Is your phone number? And then we can also use that variable. So we can say user phone, because we just created that, right? And we're going to send this information back to Retell, user phone. So you just have to make sure that it has the same name there. So I'm gonna, I can test this. Nothing's gonna happen. Wait a minute here, sorry. I think, let's see if I remove these. Perfect, okay. Sorry about that. So if you can just remove the little, I forget what these things are called, I don't know, quotes. Just remove the quotes. And then if you test it, you should see this. User phone number should give you the phone number and then the date and time. Does everyone see that? I assume yes. Cool. So I'm going to click on Save This, and now I want to test this out. So I'm going to click the test one more time here, and what should happen is when I click test, I'm going to call it. This is going to do its thing. Actually, let me activate it. So let me click active. Got it. I'm going to click on my webhook, and from the test URL, I'm going to change this to production. The reason that we want to change this to production is because you don't want to be listening for the event. You typically only listen for the event the first time, just so that we can set it up. Once we set it up, we no longer need to do that. So I'm just going to replace this with my production URL, just like that. Now, when I call it, what should happen, it should say, thank you for calling Aria, this is Sarah, and it should give me my phone number, and we could even do the time. And again, these are my dynamic variables. You could add more. You could do the user's name. So you could greet them by a name if you wanted to. So it should give me my phone number, and then it should give me the time right now, which is going to be New York time. So I'm going to give that a call, and that's what we expect to happen. So let's test it out.
Thank you for calling Aria. This is Sarah. How may I help you? Is your phone number 13109800702, and the time is 2:025:03:07 tone 7 44 01.085 5 o'clock.
So that's like computer time, so we can reformat that. But you can see it gave me my phone number, and we can actually also verify that if we go to our call history here, and we take a look at that call. You have this data. So this data will always give you the variables. You can see the dynamic variables. So you can see that we created user phone, we created the right now, which it gave me the time, right? And yeah, any questions on that? No? Okay, perfect. So now I added my time here. I'm gonna obviously remove this because I don't want this to be repeating every single time. Next, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be building out this check availability calendar, right? So we're going to greet the user. We're going to find out what service it is that they want. I'm obviously going to book an appointment, and we will need to check the availability. So for us to do that, we're going to go to our functions here, and I'm going to create a new function. And I'm going to click on custom function. I'm actually really quick here. I'm going to copy this just so that you can name this anything that you like. It doesn't have to be called check availability or check avail. It can be whatever it is that you like, but for this example, I'm going to click on custom function. I'm going to paste that in there. Sorry, let me pull up my other screen here. And for the title, I can just put like this to, I forget what I put, use this to book an appointment in GHL. Like that. Now here we need to create a URL, and this URL is going to be where we're going to be sending this information. So we're going to go back to N8N, and we're going to create another workflow. So this workflow, again, this is just for inbound, just to initiate the call. Hopefully that makes sense. I hope I don't confuse anyone there. So I'm going to go back to Retell. I'm going to create a new workflow, and I'm just going to title this like check calendar, because that's what we're doing, right? We're checking the calendar availability. And here, same thing, I'm going to click on the plus, I'm going to click on the webhook, and we're going to do same thing. Now, we need to change this HTTP to a post. Same thing with the response. We always want to respond. Well, for now, we can leave it immediately. It's okay. I'm going to grab this test URL. Again, we only want to test it in the beginning. So I'm going to go back to Retell, and then I'm going to paste that in here, just like that. Are we all good so far? Okay. Now, the next, I'm going to paste some code in the Notion document. This should update automatically. So let me do that now, and you guys can check that out. And then I'll walk you through what that code does. Just let it make sense, just so it's a little faster too. Okay, so you guys should all be able to check that Notion document, and you should see this this like function, or this like JSON. Do you guys all see that there? Yes, no? And I'm going to paste that in here. So can you guys see my Notion document? Sorry, I don't know if it doesn't look like it. I'm trying to see what I'm sharing. But you should all see that in the Notion document. Please check. It's just going to be this function here, this JSON code. Okay, cool. So let's walk through it. And actually, let me maybe open this like in a Google Doc, just so that it's like easier for us to understand what it is that we're doing here. It's kind of a little bit difficult doing it there. Perfect. So what we have here is just some schema. And what the schema does is when we create this function, when we call this function, what is it that we want to get to? I forget who was asking me earlier, but we want to get some information and send that over somewhere. And what we're doing is here we're collecting the appointment date and time, which is, again, the timestamp of the appointment that the user wants. And then we're collecting the service. But you could also be collecting more information. It doesn't have to be just these two things. Here, again, all we're saying is I want the date and time. It's going to be a string, and this is going to be the timestamp of the appointment. I added this ISO 86 format, it's just basically formats it in a certain way. And then I also want to collect the service. It's also going to be a string, and I want this to be the name of the service. And then required, all we're saying is I require both of these pieces of information before moving on. If I delete this, right, all I'm saying is you can call this function as long as you have the appointment date time. They don't have to give you a service, but as long as you have the appointment date time, you can go ahead and call this function. And you can also add more to these, right? So I could, for example, just like copy this, and I could paste it down here, and this could be something else. Maybe I want user email. Maybe that's something that I want, right? So it's going to be an email. It's going to be a string, and I can just give this a name. So it's like the email of the user, something like this. And you can continue to add more and more if you wanted to. Any questions on that? No? Okay. Are we all good so far? I'm concerned it's a little quiet. I hope this is all making sense.
Alex, it's not exactly related to this, but just for me to understand, if I don't need to worry about HIPAA compliance, so if I'm not in the health industry or whatever, what would I need to use instead of GHL? Could I use like another CRM like Odoo and deal with their APIs, or?
Yeah, exactly. And this is what this is. You don't have to use GHL. You can use any other CRM, but whenever you're connecting to a CRM, you're gonna collect some information. So that's what we're formatting here. But yes, you don't have to use GHL. You can use anything. But typically, anytime we need to check an appointment, right? We always, at the bare minimum, we need to get the date and time of the appointment.
Oh yeah, and if I really wanted to, I could just use like Google Calendar APIs if I really wanted to, right? Okay.
Yep, exactly.
Thanks, man.
Any other questions?
Hi, this is Elroy. I have a question. So you only type the strings that you are needing. Can you have like a base list of 10 different things that you might have there for duplication if you duplicate an agent, and then you specify in global settings what actual information you want?
You could, like you're saying, like 10, and you're just
Yeah, so I have 10 different strings, 10 different variables. But I only want, for example, 3, but for the ease of duplicating an agent, for example, to have like the 10 base strings or variables.
Yeah, you definitely could. And I've also included documentation for this. So this is where this is coming from. JSON schema. JSON schema, it basically gives you all the information and everything that you can do on here. So let me actually paste that. Again, this will also be in that Notion document once we're done with this.
Awesome.
But sometimes you'll notice that like I'm using string, right? Because I'm collecting a string. Sometimes you're not going to be using a string. You're going to be using a maybe you want a phone number. Maybe you want something else. And where's that documentation on that thing? Maybe you want some other stuff. So it doesn't always have to be a string. You can always use other examples. Let me pull this up here. Like address, you can see there's a bunch of stuff. Okay, here we go. So this shows you how to format it, and we can see that we have a type, which is going to be an object. Then we have all the properties, right? All the properties is everything you're collecting. This is a perfect example where we have the post office, extended address, all sorts of things. You also don't have to give it a description. It's not necessary. But if, I like to give it a description so that it knows what I need and doesn't make a mistake. But you can see on here, you can collect all sorts of information. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, no problem. Perfect. Any other questions before we move on here? No? Okay. So on here, again, all it pasted was that object. I'm going to collect the date and time, and then the service, and then that's it. I can speak after execution. I'm going to leave that on, and also do the speak during execution. This is just simply going to play if it takes more than 2 seconds. Oh, there you go. It says more than 2 seconds. So I'm just going to put a message, which is literally, let me check that for you. You can add any message. And sometimes this is not going to play, again, if it doesn't take that long. So I'm going to click on save. Perfect. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to call this agent. Now, before we call it, I need to make sure that I'm listening for that event. And I'm going to call, and what I expect to receive is going to be a date and time, and then the service that I want to book that call for. Okay, so let me call this, and I'm going to click on listen.
Thank you for calling Aria. This is Sarah. How may I help you?
Hey, Sarah, can I book an appointment for a haircut for Monday at 3 p.m.?
Of course. Just to confirm, is it a standard haircut or a specific style?
Standard haircut.
Got it. Let me check availability for a standard haircut on Monday.
Perfect. We don't have to listen to the whole thing, right? But you can see that it called the function here. Now, I'm going to pin this data because I want to have access to it later on. We can see that we have a bunch of stuff on here. I'm going to, on here in N8N, if you click on this, if you're on the JSON, which you should be, you can minimize this, but this gives you the transcript. So you can always use this for something else if you wanted to. You have the transcript, you have the tools. Here's what she said, right? And then if we scroll down, we're always going to have this thing called args. Args is always where any information is going to be stored. And you can see I have my appointment date time, which is at 3 p.m. I think I said 3 p.m. I forget what I said. But there's my time, and then there's the service that I got. So you see, this is hopefully this, you can start to see how now we're getting that information. Does that make sense for everyone? Oh man. Okay, you can minimize this, but this gives you the transcript. So you can always use this for something else if you wanted to. You have the transcript, you have the tools. Here's what she said, right? And then if we scroll down, we're always going to have this thing called args. Args is always where any information is going to be stored. And you can see I have my appointment date time, which is at 3 p.m. I think I said 3 p.m. I forget what I said. But there's my time, and then there's the service that I got. So you see, this is hopefully this, you can start to see how now we're getting that information. Does that make sense for everyone? Oh man. Okay, perfect. So now we need to communicate with GHL. So we need to be able to check whether that appointment is available, right? So now we need to go ahead and connect to our GHL instance and check that calendar. So let me pull up my notes here real quick, because I forget sometimes too. Okay, perfect. So what we're going to do is we are going to check the availability of a calendar, and we're going to be using the get free slot. So if I go back to GHL's documentation and I scroll down to calendars and I click get free slots, this is the API endpoint that we're going to be using. This is going to give us the slots available for any particular calendar. It's going to require the calendar ID, and then it's going to require our authorization token, which we got, and then it's going to require this start and end date time. So we're going to be using that for that appointment. Okay. So I want to check that there. So give me a second. Perfect. Okay. So the first thing is we need a format. You can see that here in this information that we got in these arguments. We got this, the date and time, but this format is weird, right? It's not this format. It's not going to be accepted by GHL. It needs to be Unix. Unix, all Unix means is a bunch of numbers. It's just like it's milliseconds since like a certain date. So all we're going to do is we're going to click on this little plus. We're going to click date, and we're going to format this. So I'm going to click format a date here. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to select the date that the user requested, and I'm going to drag that in here. And you can see under format, I don't want it to be month, date, and year. I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to select Unix. This is the time that I want. So I'm going to select Unix. And for the output, I'm going to change the name of this just to start date, just like that. It can be anything. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to change it if you want to, but I'm going to click test. And now we can see that this converted this time into Unix. And if we check it, we can use like Unix timestamp. If I enter it and I convert it, right? I said Monday. This is, oh, there we go. Perfect. Pacific. So it gives me the time there. So I'm going to go back to N8N here. Perfect. So now I got the start date. Next, I need to get, as part of GHL's requirements, I need to get an end date. So what's going to happen is if this time is available, well, I need to get an end date, right? So we need to increase a day or two or whatever much you want. Hopefully that's making sense. So I need to create another date, essentially. I'm going to click the plus. I'm going to go back to date. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to add to a date here. All this is going to do is I'm going to select this start date here. And all I'm saying is like, how many days do I want to add to this? All I'm going to do is just one day. You could do more than one. Like if you wanted to check the calendar for like a whole week, if you wanted to, you could. Here, I'm just doing like the next day. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to reformat this again really quick here. One more time for Unix. That's the only reason that we're doing this. Format date. I'm going to go back here to, I need to run this really quick. So I'm going to test this step. You can see it gave me the next date, right? Which it was Monday. Now it's the 11th, but I also need to reformat that time. So I'm going to click here and I'm going to format that date. I'm going to grab this and I'm just going to drag it in here. And then I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to select Unix. And then I'm going to rename this as end date. The only reason that I'm naming this is just so that it matches with the documentation from GHL, but it's not required. Perfect. So now we have our start date and we have our end date. Now we need to make our call to the calendar, to GHL, to this URL to get those slots. So I'm going to go back to, and please let me know if I'm going like too fast or too slow or if anything's not clear. First workshop, so. Okay, so I'm going to click here and we're going to be making a request. We're going to be making an HTTP request to GHL. So I'm going to click HTTP. I'm going to select that. And here we need to put a URL. So I'm going to go back to documentation and here's my URL that I need to send this to. So I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to go back here and I'm going to paste that. Now on here, you'll notice that there's this calendar ID, which we have to fill this out. Like what calendar is it that we want to search? So I'm going to go back to GHL and I'm going to select my calendar. So I'm going to go to calendars here. I'm going to pretend that it's going to be this one. All I got to do is click the ID. So I'm going to click that. I'm going to go back to N8N, and I'm going to replace that, right? So I'm going to erase this. And now I'm going to paste my calendar ID, and it should look just like that. You can see there's no spaces or anything like that. I have my calendar ID. Next, we need to authenticate. Now, don't select anything here, but we need to send headers. The headers, all that means is like we need to send, information to GHL to say, to kind of say we have authority to make these changes. And it tells you what we need. So in the headers, all we need is an authorization and then a version. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go back to N8N. For the name, I'm going to put authorization. For the value, you need to type bearer like that. And it actually tells you in the documentation. Here we go back. You can see in the example provided, there's this like bearer war and then a space followed by your API key. So we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to type, well, I already did type bearer there. I'm going to add the space, and then I'm going to add my API key. So that API key that I made earlier from my private integrations, again, be mindful of that space. There should be that space. If you don't add that space after, it's going to mess up. So I'm going to add that space, paste my API key, and there you have it. I'm going to add another parameter. This one's going to be called version. This is a version of the API that we're going to be calling. And here it tells you the version. So all I got to do is copy that. This changes also, by the way, depending on like what function or like what API you're calling. So be mindful of that. So I'm just going to paste that in there. Perfect. So that's all I got to send. Next, I'm going to go back to documentation, and it's saying that we need to send some query parameters. And as part of those query parameters, we're going to be sending the start and end date for the times that we want to search. So I'm going to go back to N8N, and here where it says query parameters, I'm going to select that. For the name, it's going to be the start date. And I'm going to click on my input. I'm going to go back to this, and I should have renamed these. That's what you want to rename this. But here you can see that I have my start date, right? So we got our webhook, we created our start date. I'm going to drag that in here. Perfect. Now I need to do my end date. And for that end date, it's going to be the last one that we ran right here, which let me run it now. Perfect. So I'm going to drag that in here. And perfect. So there we have it. We have our authorization, we have our version, we have the start and end date for the appointments that we're going to check. And then last, we have our calendar that we're going to check. So now if I click test, see what happens. There you have it. So now I'm going to get back all these time slots that are available. You can see that I got them back for the 10th, which is going to be my start date. And then I got them back from the 11th up to the 11th, which is my end date. And then you have some trace ID. You don't have to worry about the trace ID. But I have all my slots. Are we good so far here? Did everyone get this? Okay.
Alex, 1 minute. Could you just go over the dates again? I got the first one with the format, and then the second one was the start, and the third one was the end.
Yeah. So I'm going to format. I'm going to name these because format. So this is going to be our format, and then we're getting the start date. That's the first one. This one here, the middle one, we're just adding 1 day. So you can put like add 1 day or increase 1 day. Maybe you're doing like whole 1 week or multiple days. So again, here all we got is just the following day after the day that the user recommended. And then here, we're just going to format that end date. Is that clear? Are we all good here on why we're doing this? Just FYI. And again, the only reason that we're doing this is because GHL requires this. If you're working with a different CRM, that CRM might require different stuff. This is what GHL requires, which is why we're doing the Unix. That's the only reason that we're doing it. Depending on what you're working with, this can be different. Are we good so far? Yeah, okay, cool. So the next thing is now we need to send that information back to Retell. So we need to let Retell know that yes, that appointment that the user selected is available or it's not available. So, but before we do that, we need to check, right? So we need to check, is the time that the user said, is it in here or is it in here? And if it's not in here, then we need to suggest alternatives, right? Because that's how it would work in a typical conversation. You're not going to say, oh, it's not available. You know, what day do you want? Like, it's better to give them alternatives. So we're going to go back really quick here, and we're going to create a code node, which I'm going to walk you through all the code here. It's very straightforward, and this will also be included in the Notion. So let me paste that real quick here. Perfect. Okay, so that's a Notion there. You guys can go ahead and check, please. And I'll go ahead and paste it in here, and then we'll go through it. Don't get scared about the code there. So yeah, don't worry about that. But I'm gonna walk you through it. So what we need to change is this target date time. At the very top, we have our target date time. All this means is what day did the user want, right? I said Monday at 3 p.m. or forget what I said. So I need to get that time. And in order for us to do that, we're just simply gonna go to our webhook. And we got that time all the way, we scroll all the way down. It's right here under args, right? So I'm going to delete this just for this. And all I got to do is just drag it on here. So all I'm saying is the target date time is whatever date time the user wanted. And then let's go through the rest of this. Here, all I'm doing is just creating an object. Hopefully this makes sense. This right here is just formatting it. Instead of saying like, I don't want to return the time like, yes, 3 p.m. is available, but it's going to return it in like military time. So I don't want to say, yes, 1500 is available. I want to say 3 p.m., 4 p.m., whatever that is. So all I'm doing is formatting it. You also see that I have a time zone, which I can delete this. Like if I was reformatting it, right now we're doing New York. So I can just change this to New York. It's just formatting it. Same thing with this as well. Instead of saying, I want to get the day of the week because it's more natural. So I want to say, yes, Wednesday is available. And that's all this is doing. It's just changing it to a, just to like a name, to like Wednesday, Friday, Thursday, instead of like a number. This part here, remember we have this whole list of days, right? So we previously ran this, and then we got this whole list of dates. All we're doing here is just putting them together all into one object that we can go through. That's all it is. Next, what we're doing is we're checking to see, so I have the notes there, to see if the time that the user selected, is it within those times that we got back? If it is, perfect. Let's go ahead and return that. And we're going to return that. We're going to say Monday at 3 p.m. is available. You can change this. You can put whatever it is that you like. But that's the reason that we formatted it. We're saying the date at the time is available. This could be anything that you like. But if it's not available, then what I want to do is I want to check to see if there is a time before that time that the user selected. If there is, great, we're going to use that. And if there's not, we're going to select the next two closest lots. And then we return those. And once I run this, you'll see it gave me that, right? Because the time that I selected, Monday at 3 p.m., I think that's what I put, is not available. And we can see that there is no, let me see, what did I select? Target. So let me check. My target date was the 10th at 1500. So let's go back to HTTP request. The 10th at 1500. That's just right here, 1500. So let's find out. Are we all good so far? Here, really quick. So I realized too, I'm checking for New York time, but my business is actually not New York time. I have it in California. So I'm getting, me personally, just an error there just because I'm like trying to book in California time, but it's not California time. So that's just on me. Perfect. Did when you guys ran that code, did you get the times, the correct times there? Just gonna go back and fill this out. I changed the name of that, so that messed it up a little bit. So which I need to use. Okay, let me test out this workflow now. Just testing it out, making sure I got my start date. Then I got the next date. We should be making a request. Perfect, that's working. And here, perfect. And then finally, we run this code. Perfect. And then this just returns it back to him. And you can see that the time that I selected was not available, right? I originally selected Monday at 1500 hours, and I don't have that time available. It's only at 1600 hours. That's why it's giving me the other two times. So hopefully that makes sense on why that's happening there. And now I can just go ahead and save this, and we can go ahead and give this a try. So I'm going to give it a call now. And what should happen is I'm going to select Monday at 3 p.m. It's not going to be available, and then it's going to recommend other times for me, okay? So I'm going to listen for the event, and then I'm going to call it.
Thank you for calling Aria. This is Sarah. How may I help you?
Hey, Sarah, can I book a appointment for Monday at 3 p.m. for a standard haircut?
Let me confirm. You'd like a standard haircut on Monday at 3 p.m., correct?
Yes.
Checking availability.
Sorry, also forgot here. In the respond, we don't want to respond immediately. We want to respond when the last node finishes. The reason that we're doing that is because we want to send the information back to Retell with the last node. So I kind of always forget that. So let me do this one more time.
Thank you for calling Aria. This is Sarah. How may I help you?
Hey, Sarah, I need to make an appointment for Monday at 3 p.m. for a standard haircut.
Checking availability for a standard haircut on Monday at 3 p.m. The 3 p.m. slot on Monday is available for a standard haircut. Shall I book it for you?
Sure. Let me see what happened here. Okay, I got it. Sorry, I need to replace this to production URL because I'm already done testing it here. So I'm going to go back really quick and just replace this. Perfect. I'm going to call it one more time.
Thank you for calling Aria. This is Sarah. How may I?
Just didn't save. Oh, update. Oh, duh. So I'm not sure what's up. Sometimes you guys will get that error. I've been getting this error where it says like update. I don't know what's up with that. You can literally paste the same thing and then save it. I don't know. I don't know if you guys have been experiencing that there. I don't know what's up with that. Let's try this.
Thank you for calling Aria. This is Sarah. How may I help you?
Hey, Sarah, I need to make an appointment for Monday at 3 p.m. for a standard haircut.
Checking availability for a standard haircut on Monday at 3 p.m. I encountered an issue checking availability for Monday at 3 p.m. Could you provide an alternative time or?
Okay, so let's find out what the issue is. I have to do a little troubleshooting here. So let me see. Okay, so I have my webhook. That's totally fine. That's sending. We can check the call logs and see what happened. If we go to call history, we go to the last call, we can see that it sent the information, and then we send back an error saying, perfect. So this error here, 404, it basically says that I forgot to activate my workflow. So that's totally on me. A lot of these errors are honestly just like user errors. So I forgot to activate my workflow, guys. So that was pretty much me.
Thank you for calling Aria. This is Sarah. How may I help you?
Sarah, I need to make an appointment for Monday at 3 p.m. for a standard haircut.
Got it. Let me check availability for a standard haircut on Monday at 3 p.m. One moment. Monday at 3 p.m. for a standard haircut is available. Shall I book it for you?
Sure. Okay, perfect. So that worked. Let's go ahead and I'm going to refresh this, and then we're going to take a look at it and see if that was correct. Let me see here. So we've got another error. So I'm going to go back to my workflow here in N8N, and I'm going to check. Why are these not connected? Okay. So for some reason, these got disconnected. I don't know what happened there. Okay. Yeah, I don't know why those got disconnected there, but let's try this one more time.
Thank you for calling Aria. This is Sarah. How may I help you?
Hey, Sarah, I need to make an appointment for Monday at 3 p.m. for a standard haircut.
Got it. Let me check availability for a standard haircut on Monday at 3 p.m. One moment, please. Unfortunately, 3 p.m. isn't available. The closest options are 4 p.m. or 4:30 p.m. on Monday. Would either work?
Perfect. Let's do 4 p.m. Okay. There we go. Finally. So user error there. We can go ahead and check back the phone call. Again, stuff like that's always going to happen, guys. Make sure that you activate your workflows, that you're returning back the correct data. But if we take a look at the call log, here we can see that our tool, right, the check availability was called successfully. We got the appointment time there. We can even see the execution message. And then if we take a look at the results, we can see that we got back the closest before time and then the closest after time, or the closest next two times, basically. And if we go back to our N8N workflow and we take a look at the executions, we click on our latest execution, we can see that we received that information there as expected. So perfect, standard haircut. We converted that to the proper time. We then added an additional day. We converted that additional day. And then we checked the calendar. So we checked GHL. We can see that I was requesting at 3, not available. So it gave me back 4, and I believe it gave me some other time. And then that I returned 4 and 4:30 as the next 2 available times. So hopefully that makes sense. Are we all good so far here? Okay. Any questions before we move on to the booking? Go ahead and book that appointment.
Just a quick one, Alex. Is it a good practice to use like exemplars on the system prompt? So kind of like a role-playing thing if we want like a more strict like behavioral for the voice agent?
Yeah, I like to use examples for sure. I use examples like this one was just a very basic prompt, but you absolutely you can.
Cool. Is there like a maximum recommended length for like the system prompt or things like that?
I think for me, it's like if it starts getting too complex, because then that's where you're gonna maybe instead of using a single prompt agent, then you might want to use a multi-prompt or conversational agent depending on your use case. If it's too complex, you might want to look into that.
Awesome, thanks. And just finally, if I'm trying to make like an agent that says like it's only speaking Spanish, I guess it would make sense to have the system prompt be also in Spanish, right?
It could.
It depends, really. I mean, I don't think there's any real consensus at this point. Like some of our clients that are used to being specifically Spanish, say, or other languages even, they'll often just prompt in English, but just make sure that they say for the agent to speak in Spanish. Yeah, really, I mean, it's something to play with and see if you get better performance. But yeah, and there's also the multilingual as well.
And like we'll try it out really quick to see, right? It's obviously prompted in English right now, so
yeah. So you just want to add probably in task, maybe just as like the 0th item there or something. Communicate only in Spanish.
Okay, I'm curious to see like what happens if I don't change anything. So let me just call it real quick because I'm curious to see what happens.
Thank you for calling Aria. This is Sarah. How may I help you?
Hola, necesito hacer un appointment.
Hola. Claro. ¿Qué servicio te gustaría reservar?
Necesito cortarme el pelo. ¿Puedo hacer una para el lunes a las 3?
¿Te gustaría un corte de cabello regular o algo más específico, como un estilo o corte especial?
Regular, por favor.
Checking availability for a regular haircut on Monday at 3 p.m. Monday at 3 p.m. is unavailable. The closest options are 4 p.m. or 4:30 p.m. Do either work?
No entiendo.
Lo siento, el lunes a las 3 p.m. no está disponible. ¿Te sirve a las 4 p.m. o 4:30 p.m.?
Okay, so you can see it. That wasn't actually bad, honestly, for not changing anything like at all.
Interesting how it changed back. I wonder if you want to try it with that, with tell you specifically to stay within, like either in guidelines or something, specifically to stay within Spanish, like not deviate from it. Maybe actually even in communication style, you could put it, yeah.
I was wondering the same because we are creating an agent and we have the similar issue that the moment that we switch to Spanish, suddenly it starts rambling in a multilingual to different languages, even though if the entire conversation is in Spanish, for example. Is there a particular reason that it happened? Is that bug or is that something in prompting?
I would say it would be prompting, and of course making sure your language setting is set. Let's see how it works with this when he tries to book the appointment again.
Let's see.
Thank you.
Thank you for calling Aria. This is Sarah. How may I help you?
See, hold on, let me try this. I might want to do instead of I'm going to see a dynamic message. See if that.
Yeah.
Hola, gracias por llamar a Aria Beverly Hills Hair Salon. ¿En qué puedo ayudarte hoy?
Hola, necesito hacer me quiero cortar el pelo el lunes a las 3.
Perfecto. ¿Qué tipo de corte de pelo te gustaría? Por ejemplo, un corte básico, en capas o algo específico.
Algo básico.
Verificando disponibilidad para el lunes a las 3. No tenemos disponibilidad a las 3 p.m., pero hay espacio a las 4 p.m. o 4:30 p.m. ¿Te funciona alguno?
A las 4 está bien.
Perfecto. Confirmando tu cita para el lunes a las 4 p.m. ¿Me puedes dar tu nombre y número de teléfono?
There you go.
That's amazing. I mean, it basically you just switch to Spanish in the tag at the top and then put the make sure you always speak Spanish and actually it doesn't have an accent, which is surprising. Like there's a lot of like LLMs which are native in English, and then when I tell him, hey, speaking Spanish, it's like a very like an American trying to, you know, like a very American accent. So
yeah, I mean, voice choice is definitely a thing there. Like Alex, if you just drop down the voices, it's using a native Spanish voice. I don't recall.
I don't know. I went with Susan, and she's just like American. It's not even, you know, like I didn't even pick like a Spanish voice.
Yeah.
Like these are Spanish. I don't even go with that one. I just went with Susan. It's American.
Another option too for realism is if you saw that ad, you can also use community voices from 11 Labs. So often there's a lot of good voices there. One example recently was a client was looking for a specific New Zealand accent voice, and didn't see one on the list, but I directed them to that custom voice tool, and they found a good community voice. So they're doing that. But yeah, that would be another option.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Reese.
Cool. Any other questions, guys, before we move on? The next step and the final step here is to actually book the appointment. So that's what we're going to be doing now. But before we move on, I just want to make sure that we're all good with getting the availability, that we're getting that information from the function. Is any questions before we move on? Okay, cool. So next, we got the availability, right? It's going to tell us, yes, this time is available, or it's not, or we're going to provide alternate times. But if it is available, then we want to collect some information from the user. So here, all I'm doing is I'm asking the user for their name and best phone number. Now, you might be collecting more information. You don't have to just collect their name and phone number. I'm just doing this for simplicity here. But you can collect other information. Now, if you remember at the beginning where our inbound webhook, we did actually get the user's phone number. So instead of asking maybe for 5, right, we can ask user for their name. We could do something like 6 here. I don't like the way that formats. Let's see, we can do 6 right here, and then we can confirm with the user. And we're going to use that custom variable, right? So confirm with the user that and I believe it was stored under user. Let me see. Forgot how to spell user. User phone. So here, what I wanted to say is like, hey, is the number that you're calling from 310, blah, 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 is that the best phone number for you? And if if it wasn't, then you could ask for another phone number. That's something else, but you could do that. But this is just, again, you can collect all sorts of information that you want. This is just very simple. We're just asking the phone number and their name, okay? And what we're going to be doing is once we have that information, then we're going to create this function, this book appointment. So I'm going to copy this because I want to make sure that that's named the same thing. I'm going to go to functions. I'm going to click on add. I'm going to click on custom function. I'm going to paste that in there. I can give it another brief description, which is very basic. And then I want to add another URL. So I'm going to go back to N8N and I want to create another workflow, right? So I created my workflow for checking the calendar. Now I want to create another workflow that's going to book the appointment. And I'm going to create a webhook. Same thing, I'm going to select the test URL. I'm going to change this to a post. And I'm also, for now, I'll leave this respond immediately. And the reason that I do this is because when we initially test it, we're not sending anything back. So I always respond immediately. But then once we set it up, we respond with the data. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to go back and paste this in here. Perfect. Is that? What's going on here? My computer's, okay, sounds weird. Okay, cool. And then we need to send our parameters. So I'm going to paste this also in Notion, in the Notion document. I'm going to paste this down below. I'm just going to title this. This is going to be our book appointment function. Perfect. So I pasted that in Notion. You guys can see that. And let's quickly review what's going to go on here. I'm going to paste this in this Google document just so that it's easier for us to see. And just like the last one, we have our object, and then we have the different properties that we're collecting. And in this example, I want to get the user's phone number. So I want the phone number. It's going to be a string. Again, here I'm giving it a description. I'm putting this international, this E46, just because I want the +1. Sometimes, like I don't want to reformat it. How about different time zones? What do you mean about different time zones? Nelson, I'm not sure if you want to unmute yourself real quick here. No? Okay. So anyways, here I'm just formatting it so that it has the +1. We're obviously collecting the user's name because the agent is asking them for their name. We already have the service, so I don't have to ask it for the service again, but let's just pretend that I want this information, right? This information was already collected at the start of the call. And then obviously I want the appointment date time. And then here, all we're saying is I want every single piece of this. I want all this information to be sent over to me. Don't send this information until you have all these 4 different pieces, okay? So that's all we're doing here. And this. And here I'll speak during execution too, just in case it takes a little bit of time. And I'm just gonna paste that in there. Perfect. And now I'm gonna save this. Cool. And let me delete the Spanish thing because my Spanish is not that great. and I'll do the begin message. Perfect. So now what's going to happen is I'm going to call it. We're going to be listening for a test event. So make sure that, again, we're going to be listening for that. And what we expect. Yeah.
I think you need to switch the selector in Spanish at the top, like in the drop down, back at retail.
Oh, good call. Good call. There.
Yeah.
Yep. I totally forgot.
Yeah, and then I think on number 6, the confirm with the user, I think you missed a curly bracket, like an opening curly bracket on user phone. I believe it's 2, right?
Perfect. Yep. Thank you, sir. You're absolutely correct. And that's what I mean by user error. Just typically. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and call them. What we expect is to get the user's name, phone number, their service, and then the appointment time. And then we're going to be using that information to book into GHL. And that should be it. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go back here. Now, when you click test event, this only lasts for like, I think like 60 seconds, 90 seconds. So be mindful of that.
Hello, how can I help you today?
Hey, I need to make an appointment for 3 p.m. on Monday for a regular haircut.
Got it. Let me check availability for a regular haircut at 3 p.m. this coming Monday. One moment. The 3 p.m. slot isn't available, but we have openings at 4 p.m. and 4:30 p.m. on Monday.
Let's do 4 p.m.
Great. Let's book your regular haircut for 4 p.m. on Monday. May I have your name, please?
Yeah, my name is Alex.
Thank you, Alex. Can I confirm that 13109800702 is the best phone number to reach you?
Yes, it is.
Booking a regular haircut for Alex at 4 p.m. on Monday.
Perfect. So there you see, right? We got the data just as it happened last. We can see the transcript. I'm going to minimize these just so we can see. And what we should expect is args. Beautiful, just like that. This is what we always want to see, those args. These args are coming directly from wherever we that we created, right? So if I go back to retail, those args are coming from here. That's where that's coming from. And again, we can see that we have the user's phone number, we have their name. Now, maybe you want to get their full name, right? So here, maybe I could have said N last name. And then we have the time that they want to book an appointment. So now let's go ahead and make that appointment in GHL. Before we make the appointment, and let's take a look at documentation really quick for appointments. Here under events, calendar events, we can see that we have this create appointment. But in order for us to create an appointment, yes, sorry, Buzz, I forgot what your name was, but Buzz, yes, we will have this link shared. I know it's a little bit long, it's already over an hour. We're almost done here, guys. So, okay. What we need here is a contact ID. So before we can actually book an appointment, we first need to check if this contact is in our CRM, if it's in GHL. If it is, then we're going to go ahead and book the appointment. But if it's not, then we need to create a contact, right? So that we can save it onto our CRM. So we're going to do that by first searching for the contact. So if I go back to contacts here, contacts, we can see that we have this search function. And what this allows us to do is basically search for all the contacts within our GHL system, just like so. So let's go ahead and do that now. I'm going to go back to N8N. I'm going to click this little plus, and I'm going to do an HTTP request. We're going to be making this to GHL, and this is going to be a post request. I'm going to go back to documentation, and I'm going to copy this. And then I'm going to paste this back in here. Same thing for here. I'm going to send headers. And if you remember, the headers that we need to send is going to be our authorization. So paste that in there. We need to add that whole bear thing here, just like you see. So I'm going to copy that. Make sure I add my space there. And then I'm going to copy my API key, and I'm going to paste that in there. Yes, and I will share the N8N templates will also be in the Notion document. So all this will be there. And then we're going to have our version. I'm going to select this version here. I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to paste that in here. Perfect. Now, the other thing that we need to send is, let me close this. And then we need to send a body. In the body, we need to send that information. And Again, this will also be in the documents, but you can search through a contact many different ways. You can use their name, you could use their email, you can use their phone number. There's all sorts of ways to search for a contact. We're going to be searching through a phone number. I think that's kind of like the most reliable. Name doesn't seem to be that great. So we're just going to be searching by a phone number. So we're going to click on body here because we're going to send the body. And we are going to, instead of specified body here, we're going to click on using JSON. And I'm going to paste the JSON also in the Notion document. And I'll quickly go through this just so you can see what this is saying. And I'm going to make this bigger. But what this is saying is we want to check the location. So I need to find this location, and I'm going to replace that with my location ID. So grab your location ID. You're going to go back here, and you're just going to paste that in here. In between the quotes, whatever these things are called, the quotes, you want to make sure that you paste that in there. This page limit, because the contact should be unique. If we're searching by contacts, there should only be one contact with that phone number. So the page should only be one, and the page limit should only be one, because there should only be one contact. And then we have our filters. That's what this is. And all we're saying is like, I want you to search by the field called phone. And this field phone has to equal the client's phone number that we receive. So if I delete this, right, and I go back here, under arguments, if I scroll all the way down, under arguments, I have the phone number. So all I got to do is drag that in there, just paste it in there, right there, just like so. And it actually gives you a little preview there. Should give you a preview. You can see that I got the phone number. Actually, let me go back. I pasted it in the wrong spot. I'm going to copy this, and I'm just going to paste this in between the quotes. And then this sort, all this is saying is just like sorted by the first name. Again, there should only be one contact, so I shouldn't be getting anything else back. So now I'm going to title this just so we're clear on search contact. Perfect. And let's go ahead and send this. And there you have it. So I searched the contact, and what I got back was some information from GHL, basically saying that I did have the contact, right? And we can see that we have the contact ID, which is, this is one of the fields that we need to book that appointment. And then I have the rest of the information on me. And if I delete myself from GHL, then you will also see what I get with that. Oh, delete. Are we good so far? Any questions, concerns, anything? We're almost done, guys. I know it's long.
You're doing great. Thanks.
So I deleted myself just so you can see. Every time you have a contact, it's always going to return an object. It's always going to return something, right? So we have one contact, and we can see that we have all the information related to this contact, any custom fields. This is where maybe you're storing certain information about that customer. You can always do it in the custom fields there. But let's try this again. Now that I deleted myself, so there you have it, right? Now it gave me nothing. I don't have anything. So we need to be able to check to see if there is a contact. And we're going to do that with a thing called a switch node. So all you got to do is type switch, and it's going to give us this little blue thing. And all this is saying is we want to compare certain things. And we're going to be comparing this total. So I'm going to grab this total, and I'm going to just put it in here. Now, this is a number, right? It's not a string. So I want to make sure that it equals something. So it's going to be a number, and it's equal to 1. The 1 means that there is a contact. We found the contact that we're looking for, right? And I can actually even rename the output, and I'm going to put found. And then if I'm going to add another rule here, which is going to be the same thing, the total, I'm going to drag that in there. And if this number is equal to a 0, it means that there is no contact. So it was not found, and just like that. So if I test this, then we can see that it went to the not found, right? Because I deleted myself, so there was no contact there. Now, if the contact is not found, then we need to create a new contact. So we'll do that now. We're going to click this little plus, right? It was not found. So now we need to create a new one, and we're going to be making another request to GHL. So I'm going to do, and actually just going to duplicate this. You can click the 3 little dots and duplicate this, so I don't have to type in like my API key all over and again. I can just duplicate it. I'll connect these, and I'm going to change the URL, because what we want to do is create a new contact. So if I go to the contacts endpoint here, contacts there, and we click on create a contact, then you can see all the information here, right? So I'm going to send an API request to this one. I'm going to paste that in there. Perfect, contacts. And then let's take a look at what we need in terms of data. So we just need to send it the authorization tokens version. I believe that's the same version. And then we just need to send it a location ID in the body. So I'm going to, let me see, did I paste that in the, I'm going to paste this in Notion to here. Should have pasted the other one too. Okay. So in the body, we need to send it some information. I'm going to scroll down here. Instead of sending this JSON code, I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to paste this code, which is also in the Notion document, and then we'll review. We need to send the name, the client of the name, right? So I want to store this client, and I'm going to delete this just so you can see. But I want to get the client's name, and we got that information actually back. Let me see. We got this information back in our webhook. So we take a look at our webhook. We have scroll all the way down. We got the client's name right here, client name. So I'm going to drag that and put it between the quotes. And for some reason it didn't go. Okay, let me scroll all the way down. I don't know if I did paste. Client name, here we go. Okay, perfect. We got the client name. I need to add the location ID wherever I'm going to be using this contact or creating this contact. So I'm just going to copy that really quick, my location ID. I'm going to paste that right there where it says location ID. I'll erase this one. And then here, all I'm sending is the phone number as well. This is what it's going to be. Right, so the phone number, I'm going to grab the client's phone and then drag that in there, just like that. And now this is going to create a new contact for me. So let's test it out. I can click test. And there you have it. It created a contact. So I'm going to title this create a contact. And if I go back to GHL, we should see my contact there. There you have it. So it created a contact for me. Now that we have that.
Quick question about custom fields related to creating a contact. Whenever you're adding additional information, like whether they're a customer type like buyer, seller, renter, if they're a real estate client, could you also populate all of that data at the same time, or?
Yeah, you could.
Is that the same format to do that in? Like, would you?
Like here in the create a contact, right? You can add more stuff. Like all I'm adding is a phone number. I mean, a name and a phone number. And if you take a look at the documentation, you can send all sorts of stuff, first name, last name. I added the name just because it splits it for you, so you don't have to like split it yourself. But you can add all this other stuff, custom fields, right? So custom fields, you can just them there as well.
So just kind of in a nested, as long as it's. Can you go back to that prior screen, and then prior to the expression? Yeah, that screen. So this page here under send body, what's necessary is to send it as a JSON content type and then specify body and then just JSON.
Yeah, and then the JSON is that what I'm just showing you, right? So the JSON, where we need to have a location for sure. So where are we sending this to? You need to have a location, and then we need to have what information are you creating about this contact? It's going to be a phone number, a name, or you might have an email. So you could also add an email here, right? So this could also be email.
And then if you have custom fields, you would add those there underneath it as well. Is that correct? Okay.
Exactly.
Excellent.
Same thing with tags, right? Because you have all these settings here. You could add tags there as well, a source, country, any other settings. You can do so from here.
Awesome.
Okay.
Super helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Perfect. So now let's go ahead and book that appointment. We have everything we need. We have our location, we have the time, we have the contact ID, because we just got this contact ID right here. So now we can actually create and book our appointment. So let's do that. So I'm going to make another HTTP request here. We're going to be making this to book the actual appointment now that we have everything. So if I go back to create appointment here, this is going to be the request. This is going to be the URL that we're going to be sending this to. So actually, and I'm going to delete this. I'm just going to duplicate this. I forgot about that. I don't want to type all that stuff out again. Duplicate this. This is going to be my book appointment. And we're going to change this URL from here. Perfect. So that's going to be our appointment URL. And if we check a look at the documentation, same stuff. Make sure that we change this version. You can see that this version is actually different from the other ones. So I am going to update that here. You see, I have a different version, so I'm going to paste the correct one there. And then what else do I need to send with this? And then here in the body, I need to send it the calendar ID, the location ID, the contact ID, and then the start time of that appointment. So let's go back. And here, instead of using JSON, because I don't need to use, at least I don't need to specify it this way, I can click on use fields below. And for the use fields below, I'm just going to paste, let me see back here. For the send, wait a minute. Okay, actually, we're still going to use that. Sorry, go back here. That was something different. Perfect. So let me make this bigger. All I have here is my calendar ID. So we need to send to the calendar ID, location ID, the contact ID, and then the start time as part of those requirements to make that appointment. So I'm just going to quickly copy that really quick. I'm going to update that. I'm going to get my location ID, and I'm going to paste that in here. And then I'm going to get my calendar ID and then paste that in there as well, which is going to be this one here. Just like that. And then we have our contact ID. So where do we get our contact ID? From this last one that just ran, right? So we just created that contact. So that's where that's coming from. And all I got to do is, again, just drag this ID field and then put it between the quotes. That's going to automatically fill out my contact ID. I don't know why this keeps pasting it like that. Just paste it in between your quotes. And then this start time, we're getting that from the webhook, right? So I can delete that. And if we take a look at the beginning, we have the time that the user wants to book that appointment. So if I scroll down, we have ARGs, we have the appointment time. So I can just literally drag that in there. And there you have it. So now I can just literally test this. Okay, so bad parameters. Let's see, what did we mess up here? Where did I mess up? So the appointment slot that I selected is no longer available. Let's see here. I did select this for sure. Let's check the calendar here. So let me see, what day am I trying to book here? I'm trying to book for okay, I'm trying to book for this today. Okay, so it's giving me incorrect here just because well, actually Monday at 4. So let me see, that doesn't make any sense. It shouldn't be like that. Monday at 4 p.m. Okay, so that time slot isn't available. Oh wait, PST. Sorry, I changed this in some kind of little messed up here. Yeah, it is available. Okay, so there's definitely something here, and we will try to debug this. Let me see what I could be missing here. So just give me a second, guys. I'm trying to figure out what I messed up in here, because that time is for sure available. We should be able to book that directly to the calendar. That's not for sure is available. So let me see, I'm booking for the 10th. Yep, that should work. Okay, so that booked. You can see that booked the appointment at 4:30. However, that's not what we wanted, because here I typed it in myself, and I shouldn't have typed it in myself. So try to diagnose what happened here.
Was it accidentally booked already in GHL, or?
Yeah, it's right here.
Was there a previous one though? Maybe no.
No, it's because I think it's because I'm booking in New York time, and my account is technically set up for California.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, probably. Yeah,
And then
probably.
I have this like time as New York, so I'm pretty sure that's what the issue is. But we can see it booked, right? Like it's still giving me the time in like my time. You can see this is not even. Let's see. Yeah, okay, so there's an appointment for, you see this is messed up. This booked it at 12:30 EST. So this is definitely just because of my account. But you know what? One thing that we can do to fix this is we can actually send the time zone. So I believe, let me see here. I can't.
Alex, when I was setting my appointment workflow, I faced several problems when sending the API request to high level. So basically, it was a problem into the conversion that what I was doing to milliseconds to send, and what the platform actually was understanding. So I have I don't know, like a decimal problem when converting the data user said or the time zone I put in the milliseconds.
Yeah, the issue is actually happening here. You can see this book.
Problem. It's very difficult to debug where exactly is the conversion doing the problem.
For me, it's because my account, like I said, I set it up for, it's in California, but you can see it's giving me the time in a different time zone. So that's actually what's happening here on mine, because it is booking. I can book, I just booked again. And if I go back to GHL, we should have another appointment. Right, so there's the other appointment. And you can see it's like booking them, the time, it's Yeah, that's just because of the way I changed it.
I don't know that you click the update button when you change the time zone to New York under your company profile on GHL.
Yeah, and I think also the calendar is not set up for New York, so that's also an issue there.
Yeah, that's probably it.
Because now so I should have thought about that before I even did that. Doesn't actually, there is no time zone for the calendar. Okay, let's test this out. So this should work already. I'm actually going to switch it back just to California time because that's what I had it set up under, just so we can go through that. But does anyone have any questions? I'm sorry if I got confusing here towards the end. I should have thought about this. I should have just made it in New York from the very beginning. Anyone have any questions or anything like that?
Quick question. If I wanted to have it automatically select a different calendar based upon maybe a different type of appointment, like a hair salon, one calendar is for a haircut and another one is for a color, I would just create a separate function, just copying exactly what we're doing here, but do one for each calendar, correct?
Yeah, you would create a function that checks the service, right? So here we're getting the service. So you would create a function that literally does that. It checks the service and then it books it based on that calendar. So, yeah, perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna just switch this back really quick here to California time, and then we're gonna test this out and then see what happens there, and then yeah, that should pretty much be it there. So I'm gonna go back here because originally when I put the time zone, I don't want it to be New York. I'm gonna just leave it back to my time zone here. I'm gonna save this, and then I'm gonna go back to this book appointment here, and then we can go through this really quick here. I'm gonna delete myself again, just so. Okay, perfect. So let's go ahead and give this a call. I'm going to listen for this event. Not right now, just oops.
Hello, how can I help you today?
Hey, I need to make an appointment for Monday at 4 p.m.
What service would you like to book for Monday at 4
A regular
p.m.?
haircut.
You need a regular haircut?
Yeah, regular haircut.
Checking availability for a regular haircut on Monday at 4 p.m. Monday at 4 p.m. is unavailable. The closest options are Tuesday at 8 a.m. or 8:30 a.m. Would either work?
Let's do Tuesday at 8 a.m.
Great. Let me confirm your appointment for Tuesday at 8 a.m. May I have your name, please?
Alex.
Thank you, Alex. Is 13109800702 the
Yes.
best phone number to reach you?
Yes, it is.
Booking a regular haircut for Alex on Tuesday at 8 a.m. Your appointment is confirmed for Tuesday at 8 a.m. Please.
All right, well, you're a liar because you didn't book it. So, but we got that information. Perfect. So now let's test out the rest of it. We'll search the contact, right? There is going to be no contact because I deleted myself. So now we didn't find the contact. Perfect. We want to create that contact again, which we got this information right here, right? If I scroll all the way down, we should have my phone number, booking time, which the booking time is 11 at 8 a.m. And if I refresh this and if I go back to LA time, and we're looking at Tuesday, it should be available. So should be able to book. Perfect, let's test this out. Great, we created the contact. And now we want to book the appointment, right? So I'm sending the start time, I'm sending, where's my booking time? Webhook. There's that time. I don't like this -7. Test this out. And then booked. Let's go back to GHL. Let's take a look at the calendar. And we should be on Tuesday at 8 a.m. There you have it. So that was the issue. I messed up my account with the whole time zone, but I called in for Tuesday at 8 a.m. and I booked it for 8 a.m. Perfect. Oof. Okay, cool. So now that that booked, we need to obviously inform the user that that appointment was booked. So we need to check for that. So I'm going to click this little plus, and we're going to be adding another switch node. And we're just going to be adding this switch node to make sure that the appointment was in fact booked, or if there was some sort of error. Because if there was some sort of error, we want to inform the user, or maybe we want to inform ourselves. So we don't want to just like, keep the user waiting there. So we're going to be checking this based on the status. And you take a look at status here, it says that the appointment was booked. So I'm going to drag this under on status. And I want to check to see if this is equal to booked. It's always going to say booked for sure. If it was booked, it will always say this. So we want to make sure that that is booked. I'm going to rename this just so that I know it's going to be booked. But then we also want to check if we have any sort of issues. And when we have any sort of issues, that value is going to be stored under JSON.error. And I will also include this in the Notion document. It's going to be stored under there. And this is going to equal 400. All that means is like there was some sort of error, as you saw earlier. And maybe we'll even create an error right now, so that way you can see. So it's going to equal to 400. And this is going to be a number. And we might have, typically when it's a 400 error, which we'll do one right now, it's typically not available. That's what it means. And then we might also want to do some other fallback, like if everything goes wrong, or maybe there's something else that we didn't think about, then we're going to use a fallback output. And then for the fallback, it's just going to be an extra output. All this means is like, if it's something else other than these two, then we want to send the notification. And here I'm going to test this out. Of course, it's going to show as booked. And if it shows as booked, then we want to let Retell know. So all we're going to do is we're going to click this little plus. We're going to return a code node with that message to Retell. And all that message, again, just return. We're going to return a result. And all I'm going to say is your appointment has been booked. That's it. You can get fancier. You can put your appointment has been booked for this date and whatever, such and such. You could do that. So this one has been booked, and I'll rename this to booked. But then I'm just gonna quickly duplicate this here. We're also gonna have if it's not available, right? Like earlier you saw that it was giving me that error that that appointment was not available. So then if that does happen for some reason, we want to let the user know. So I'm gonna click on this and I'm gonna change this to, hey, I'm sorry, there seems to be an issue, and then you can do something else from here. But we want to let them know that there was some sort of issue. And then maybe we're just having errors with our system. So we want to do another one here. And I can duplicate this just to let them know that we're having errors with our system. So I'm going to click there. Oops. I click that. And I'm going to paste this in here, which again, just saying, hey, we apologize, we're having some sort of error in our system. Perfect. And then here, in our webhook, we actually want to change this from response to immediately to respond the last node finishes, meaning that we're going to send whatever is the message from here. We're going to send that back to retail, which will then tell us if the appointment has been booked or if we've had any sort of error. Okay, and I'm actually going to activate this, and it's saved. And I'm going to copy the production URL. So I'm going to go to production. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to go back to retail, and I'm going to paste that in here. And then I'll update this. Again, I don't know what's up with this invalid JSON schema. Like, I know for a fact it's not invalid. I'm literally going to paste the same thing, update it, and there it is. So now I should be able to call it, and it should book directly to the calendar, and it should tell me that the appointment has been booked. So let's give that a shot.
Hello, how can I help you today?
Hey, I need to make an appointment for next Wednesday at 8 a.m. for a regular haircut.
Got it. Let me check availability for a regular haircut next Wednesday at 8 a.m. One moment. The 8 a.m. slot isn't available, but we have openings at 9 a.m. and 9:30 a.m. next Wednesday. Which works for you?
Let's do 9 a.m.
Let me confirm the 9 a.m. appointment for a regular haircut. May I have your name, please?
Yeah, it's Alex Rodriguez.
Thank you, Alex. Can I confirm that 13109800702 is the best phone number to reach you?
Yes.
Booking a regular haircut for Alex Rodriguez on March 12th, 2025 at 9 a.m. Your appointment for a regular haircut is confirmed for Wednesday, March 12th at 9 a.m. Please bring any inspiration photos. Do you have any other questions?
Nope, that's it. Thanks.
You're welcome, Alex.
Okay. So a couple of things with that. Let's go through that. That should have booked the appointment, but it said that 8 was not available, even though it clearly was. So there's the 12th. Okay, and it booked nothing. Great. So let's find out why that happened, because clearly nothing was booked. Oh, I think I know why. Because I didn't delete myself. So we're gonna finish off that path right now, but here, and I can show you guys. If we look at the executions, we can see that we got that appointment. Here I am. I requested that appointment, but it didn't go down the path because I was already a contact. So I'm just going to delete myself really quick here, and then we'll go through that one more time, and then we'll finish off that. If there are an existing contact, then we're going to book the appointment, and I'll show you how to do that really quick. And that's pretty much it. Any questions so far, guys? I appreciate your patience, by the way. Okay, cool. So let's go through them. We should be good. Let's call it.
Hello, how can I help you today?
Hey, I want to make an appointment for Tuesday at 3 p.m. for a regular haircut.
Got it. Let me check availability for a regular haircut on Tuesday at 3 p.m. One moment. The 3 p.m. slot isn't available, but we have openings at 4 p.m. and 4:30 p.m. on Tuesday. Would it work?
4 works.
Great. Let me confirm a 4 p.m. appointment for a regular haircut. May I have your name, please?
Yeah, it's Alex Rodriguez.
Thank you, Alex Rodriguez. Can I confirm that 13109800702 is the best phone number to reach you?
Yes.
Booking regular haircut for us on Tuesday at 4 p.m. It seems there was an issue booking the appointment. Let me try again to secure it for you. Your appointment for a regular haircut on Tuesday at 4 p.m. is confirmed, Alex. Please bring any inspiration photos. Do you have any other questions?
Nope, that's it. Thanks. Okay, let's go through that. And yes, awesome, fast. That's what I'm going to show you for existing customers. I will show you that right now. But that call right now should have created a contact for us. So there's my contact, there's my phone number. We should have that appointment booked also, although it did say that there was some sort of error, and then it actually booked it. So I'm curious as what's happening there. And they booked it at 7 a.m. though. Why did it book this at 7 a.m.? Yeah, Hector, I am going to publish a call and actually have a whole YouTube tutorial going over this, like in step by step also, which I will also link in that document. You can look at that also.
Will you be sending out an email to everybody, or will you be posting this on Discord?
Evie can send an email. I don't have access to all of you guys' emails. She can probably do that, but I can also post it on Discord.
That'd be great.
Okay, and like I said, I do have a link to it now. I do have a YouTube tutorial that literally goes through this, like step by step, same concept, and you can kind of go through this on your own time. So I can share that with you guys here. So that video right there that I pasted literally goes over the same thing there. And it has all the workflows and all that stuff there as well. So, I'm just trying to figure out a couple of issues there. And if you guys have any questions while I try to work this out, please let me know. But it did create the contact, but it didn't book the appointment at the correct time. I'm pretty sure I set some other time and it didn't book it correctly. So I'm going to check why and try to fix that issue there. Okay, so you can see here I requested the 11th at 3 p.m. Refresh this, I want to make sure. Okay, so the 11th at 3 p.m. and formatted the date time. So this is equal 3 p.m. Pacific Daylight. That's okay. So it does equal 3 p.m. because it's not Pacific Daylight. It's actually -8. Hate time zones. And we got that. We requested the appointment. And obviously 3 p.m. was not available. So recommended back 4. So that's working fine. And then in the actual book appointment, take a look at that. So we got an error. Okay, so let's see. So I try to book the appointment. You can use any type of calendar in GHL. They all work the same through the API. Any of them will work. Okay, so that message was no longer available. Let's take a look at the last one. Okay. Okay, so let me work. Let's finish this if the contact is found, and then we're going to try this, and that will also help diagnosis. But obviously, there already is a contact here for me. So let me see here. Let's run this. Right now, when I search for the contact, it's obviously going to find me, and we know that it found me because the total is more than 0, right? So it's 1. And here, when we switch, it should also output the contact found. Perfect, just like that. And now, instead of, we no longer need to create an appointment. I mean, create a contact. All we got to do is just book the appointment. So I can do is duplicate this. I want to drag this here. And then because a contact is found, simply going to drag that in there. And essentially, we want to change only a couple of things here. So this contact ID, we need to swap that out. So I'm going to delete this contact ID, and I'm just going to drag this one from the switch
Alex,
node.
when you set the nodes for the JavaScript response and send them back to the agent in Retell, when we use the node for webhook response, X equal, or the methods the agent will get the information is different?
You kind of cut off there. I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand. Can you repeat it one more time, please, JT?
I asked if I use the response to Node webhook works equals with the structured JSON output that you put, like the booked or not available or error when you finish the workflow.
And this you mean? Does respond to webhook? Is that what you mean? This node? Or like you mean here? Is it this one? Or do you mean like the actual node, like this response to webhook node? Or are you referring to these right here? JT?
I think we lost them.
Yeah, okay. Anyways, so here, because we did find the contact, right, all we're gonna do is now try to book that appointment with this contact ID that we did find. Everything else remains the same. The start time is still the same. Obviously your location ID, your calendar ID, that will be slightly different, but everything else will remain the same. And then if I test this out, I think this appointment time, okay, perfect. So I booked it. I forget what date I booked for. For the 11th at 8, so let's check that out. Okay, perfect. So 11 at 8 is there. Cool, so that's working. And then we just need to switch, we just need to send this information back. And all I can do, I can literally just like drag this and then do this little switch node. It'll still be the same thing because I'm still returning this JSON. So it'll still be the same thing. So I can go ahead and save this. And then let's try to give this a call now. Let's see if this is working.
Hello, how can I help you today?
Hey, I need to make an appointment for Thursday at 11 a.m. for a regular haircut.
Got it. Let me check availability for a regular haircut on Thursday at 11 a.m. One moment. The 11 a.m. slot isn't available, but we have openings at 12 p.m. and 12:30 p.m. Do either of these work?
This is 12 p.m.
Great. Let me confirm the 12 p.m. slot for you. May I have your name, please?
Yeah, my name is Alex Rodriguez.
Alex, is 13109800702 the best phone number to confirm your appointment?
Yes.
Booking a regular haircut for Alex Rodriguez on Thursday at 12 p.m. Your appointment is confirmed for Thursday at 12 p.m. Alex, please bring any inspiration photos. Anything else I can assist you with?
Nope, that's it. Thanks.
You're welcome, Alex. We're excited to see you on Thursday. Have a great day.
Wait, what time did you
Goodbye.
book the appointment for?
Your appointment is confirmed for Thursday at 12 p.m. Let me know if you need anything else.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so I'm still having a bit of an issue here with the time zone. You can clearly see that it's like an hour off. And that's coming because there's like the Pacific. I got to take that into account. It is happening because there's like the daylight with like the hours before, and then there's like an hour after thing. So that's what's happening there. That's what's booking it 1 hour before. Any questions, concerns? I know this was maybe perhaps not the best of what.
No, you did great. I do have a quick question. For example, at this moment, you say I want to book an appointment for 12. And then you say, and then it's going to be booked, and then you revisit, okay, can you change that to 2? Will it be deleting, or do you have to make a different node in N8N?
Yeah, there will have to be a different node to
Okay.
delete, because it's a different API call
Okay.
here. So,
Okay, makes sense.
Right
Okay,
here,
thank you.
delete event. This is
Yeah,
the one you
okay,
need.
perfect. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions, guys? So I'm obviously having issues right now with the time zone. It's an hour off from when I'm collecting that time. You can check out that YouTube video. I do go more in depth. I might have to shoot another video just on time zones alone, because right now it's working, but it's giving me an hour after, or it's like a Pacific Standard Time, And that's coming from right here from my check availability, or even possibly from my webhook setup. See, so I'm passing it as 11. We checked it, and let's see, good old troubleshooting. 13th, there's the 13th, 11 available. It is not, so I recommended 12. You see, but you can see the difference right here. So the time that I'm getting back from GHL is in like Pacific, like it's an hour before. You can see like I'm requesting it at 11, but it's minus 8 hours. And the time that GHL is giving me is minus 7. You guys see that there?
Looks like maybe an issue with daylight savings time or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's got them daylight saving times. I don't even know why we have that. And daylight
I
savings.
agree.
Seriously, like, dude, oh my God. But that's what's happening. That's what's happening, guys. So it's working, but it's booking me an hour before. This should have been booked at 12 p.m. instead of 1 p.m. But it's giving me this damn thing here. So how would this get fixed real quick here?
Yeah, like in my case, I created a whole prompt with an OpenAI agent to just check the list of dates from GHL and the date the user said. So quite give me a lot of lines in prompting to solve this problem. But
yeah, and you do that. And you could do that. My only issue with that is it's like I don't want, like, sometimes the OpenAI API is down, or like, so I don't want to like to make a call and then like the API is down and then it's an issue with my call, you know? So that's why I like always request it from here, from the server.
You go directly into
yeah, exactly. I go directly, but again, this is formatting it. It's technically formatting it.